Thank you very much, Deputy President. Well, this would be farcical if it wasn't so serious for over 650,000 Australians with serious and permanent disability who are now in record numbers contacting those of us in this place and the other to beg us not to pass this legislation. And it is totemic of the shocking, appalling government that has been delivered by the ALP over the last 2.5 years. 4 years ago, when then the coalition government and then Minister Stuart Robert and then myself approached the Labor Party and Bill Shorten and said this scheme is starting to head into trouble. We need serious legislative reforms. We need serious engagement with the states and territories to reform this scheme so that it can be financially sustainable and focus on delivering everything that it was designed to provide for our most seriously vulnerable. And that is those Australians who were in group homes across this country in appalling conditions. But yet, 4 years later, 4 years ago, Bill Shorten started ridiculing Minister Stuart Robert. He said he was evil, he was going to cut the plans, we didn't need an assessment process in an insurance scheme. And he whipped up the sector and he whipped up the politics and said, there's nothing wrong with the scheme. I see no evidence of anything wrong with this scheme. We don't need to do anything. They're all just making this up. He said, he accused us of being pearl-clutching kabuki theatre, that the NDIS, despite everything in the budget, everything in the quarterly reports, said that this was a scheme that was in trouble, that was starting to trend towards 20% above budget each and every year. Completely unsustainable. So what has Minister Shorten done? Instead of actually just coming clean and saying, I got it wrong, now is the time to start working together to improve and to save this scheme. But over the last 2.5 years, what has he done? We had about 30-odd reviews that clearly identified what was wrong with this scheme and what needed to be done by the federal government and by state and territory governments to fix the scheme and to extend support to other Australians with disabilities who were not covered by the NDIS. And what did he do? He had another review, which the minister representing him has just gone through. Oh, we did. We consulted all these people. And guess what? We found what every other review has found. So that review was delivered to the Labor government, to Minister Shorten, in November last year. The government still have not provided a response, and they're saying that this legislation that's supposed to be before us in about 5 minutes' time will fix it, will implement the review. Well, it doesn't implement the review. It implements probably 5% of the review. And even Labor's reviewers said that review had to be implemented as a package by the federal government and the state and territories. Well, this legislation, what a debacle. We're due to start into committee on this legislation, and guess what? We haven't seen the amendments. So we're supposed to be debating something that this government, this incompetent and hopeless government, after saying this legislation was so urgent and so necessary, we're going into debate in less than 5 minutes' time. And I don't know whether anybody else, Deputy President, in this chamber has seen the amendments. So what are we going to be discussing? It was so urgent that they had to rush through and not answer the questions. We still haven't got answers to some of the questions that we asked in committees. In fact, many of them, they ducked, they weaved, they didn't answer the questions, and we are at this shameful position today. Every Australian who relies on the NDIS, whether you're participants, families, friends, or people who work within the scheme to provide those supports, should be worried. Where is the bill? Where is the amendments? What a shame.